Start your engines. The Syracuse Nationals rolls into Syracuse, New York, July 18th through the 20th for its 25th anniversary. Experience the largest car show in the Northeast with over 7,000 vehicles. It's 3 days of hot rods, classic cars, live entertainment, and family fun. Mark your calendars and make the Syracuse Nationals part of your summer plans. Buy your tickets, register your ride, and get all the details at SyracuseNationals.com. Syracuse Nationals. It's worth the drive.
From Studio One on the campus of the worldwide headquarters of ESPN. And from Studio Q in Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Joe and Q on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Two-time NBA MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he is open-minded.
You know what I love, Steve? Being a jerk.
Listen, dude, we've been doing a show for 90 minutes.
I had a chance to listen to the last call. We game plan for PJ Hall.
Uncle.
I have a list of guys I would never hang out with. Your name is right on the top.
Do you like the worst song bracket we're doing?
It's considerably better than the supplement bracket. Let's start with that.
I won a limbo contest.
Oh, my God.
Fran Brown joining us.
These guys are working their butts off. They expect to see their fans.
You want extra money just because you're North Carolina? I'm in all right
What
now.
an honor for you and Jordan to be next to me.
Every
daily.
day.
This is Orange Nation.
There's music, there's fun, there's us. It's everything you could want all in one place.
With Stephen Fonte and Paulie Sibilia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to have you with us alongside Paulie Sibilia. I'm Stephen Fontes. We welcome you into a Monday edition of Orange Nation. It is Monday, which means Mike McAllister will be on the show at 12:30. Tim Leonard, the voice of the SU men's lacrosse team, 1 o'clock. A lot to get to with him. Plus, we'll mix in your phone calls throughout at 315-437-7644. Exciting weekend, Paulie, in local sports. How are you today?
I'm good, Steve. How was your weekend?
It was great. Emma graduated. So that was the thing.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Where'd you go for dinner?
Yesterday we had a party out at Green Lakes, the Yards Grill. We
Gotcha.
rented it out, and they did a great job out there, and it was awesome.
Mother's Day graduation. Graduation.
Yeah, it was her and her 4 housemates, so there was 5 girls and all their families, and so it was. Yeah,
nice.
We were celebrating the moms, celebrating the daughters, and it was a great time. So,
Breaking news at the Sibilia household: the tree is off my deck, and the deck is fixed.
yeah.
So all is well in my life. No, I'm not having a party for the listeners. All right, so you can just stop that right now.
So you asked me for my power washer over the weekend, but you said the situation's been resolved?
Yes, that's getting resolved also.
Okay. I was ready. I asked Kim. She said as long as he doesn't break it, he can borrow it. So.
All right. Jordan, so the lacrosse team wins.
Yeah.
And I was following along on social media.
What a game.
And see, this is where I'm interested because he asked a good question, which is shocking. I was watching via social media and whatnot at halftime, and everybody wanted Gary Gate fired and John Wildhack fired and another embarrassing NCAA tournament loss and closed down the program. Syracuse sacrificed its basketball and lacrosse programs so that football could be good. It was awful on social media, Steve. And then they came back and win.
They did.
Against a team that they already lost to. And Jordan asked, where does this game rank in terms of Syracuse games you've seen? Is it a legitimate case to be an all-timer? Do you think it does? I don't.
Well,
it shouldn't be.
Does it have a chance to be an all-timer? I think that depends on what happens next. Like if this team were to go on and win the national championship, then you might look back at it and say, that might be one of those, like the Syracuse-Virginia game with, Malachi Richardson, and that got him to the Final Four. Like you look at that game as an all-timer, right? Mad comeback, and then you get a Final Four appearance.
But that team had no business. Like you felt like
if this team goes on to win a national title,
yes, that's great. I'm asking you about this game in a bubble.
In a bubble, no,
because they should have won that game.
Yeah,
right?
I would say in a bubble, no, but in big picture, if this becomes a special season, then I think you look back on it much like you do with the 2003 championship team, and you look back at their path to the Final Four and to the championship, and
They were down to Oklahoma State.
right? You remember those games, and
They thumped Oklahoma. Yeah, I get that.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you would look at it as part of. You would put it all together as one memory. Jerry's 4 days at the Big East tournament. We look at it as one thing, right? So if they go on and win their first title since 2009, I think you'll look at it and say, "Man, what a run that was."
Brett the Hatchet says the game was amazing. Name 5 better games. Even if you couldn't name 5 better games, so it felt like they should have won that game going in, right? Like they shouldn't have been in that position.
You would hope that they wouldn't have been, but they were, and it was a great game. Like,
Yes.
don't get me wrong. I mean, if we're talking like all-timer, like SU sports history, like we're taking all the sports into account, it's probably not in the top 5 because it wasn't.
What about just lacrosse?
Lacrosse, I think you could make a case for. I mean, as he said, like name 5 games that were better. Still, the best game that I ever saw was the national title when Cody Jamieson won it in overtime against Cornell. I mean, that's still, to me, that's the best game I witnessed in person. But I mean, the one last night, man, there was a lot on the line. Even though there wasn't a Final Four appearance on the line, there was a lot on the line for both teams, and to do it the way they did it, down 8-2 at the half, it's probably on the list for lacrosse games.
Okay, so Brett the Hatchet says, what's that have to do with the quality of game? So the comeback Syracuse had in basketball against Colgate, all-time great game? No, it's not. If you're supposed to win the game.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of it you have to take into account the stage, and the stage was the NCAA tournament. So I think it gets a little bit of a bump for that.
You think they can beat Princeton? Not playing like that.
I mean, I think they can beat anybody. I do. I mean, they played Cornell this year, and it was, close until the end. Same thing with Maryland. Like, they're as good as the best teams in the country, but they got to play well, and they didn't play well for the first half yesterday. I will say this. I thought they had a chance in the second half. When they went into the break, my son actually called me, and he was like, "Do you think they can still win?" It was 8-2. And I said, I think they can win, but I would have felt better if it was like 8-4 instead of 8-2. But the way that John Mullen was dominating at the faceoff X, it was essentially make it take it. And you knew that if they were able to score goals, they were going to get possessions, right? Because he was so dominant at the X that it felt like they could go on a run. And that's exactly what they did. They scored 5 goals in the span of 2 minutes in the fourth quarter because they scored, got the faceoff, scored, got the faceoff, scored, got the faceoff. And it became make it, take it. And, Harvard just couldn't stop it. And in the first half, Syracuse wasn't finishing possessions with goals. And so Harvard was able to, to build that lead. So it was a remarkable comeback. And I think that, this is one of those games that it can give you momentum now going into the next round. Like, I spoke with Pat Barch before I came over. That's why I'm all dressed up. Had the interview for our TV show.
Brag.
Well, I'm going to tell you what he said. And he talked about the fact that, this team, does not get rattled, right? And it's easy to say that, but in the moment, I think we saw that. Because if they got rattled, they would have lost.
Correct.
And now you got a team that doesn't get rattled. They feel like they're as good as anybody in the country. And now they feel like they're playing with house money, right? And so will there be pressure on them next week? Of course, because of the Final Four drought. And they want to get there. And that was one of the major goals. But I think this game, you can look at it as it does give them momentum now. And it gives them an opportunity to play looser next week. I mean, I think they probably played a little tight in that first half. We'll talk to Tim Leonard about that when he comes on. But it was a game, as you said, that they were supposed to win against a good opponent. And they played a little tight to begin with. They didn't execute. They had turnovers. They allowed Harvard to build that lead, and it was kind of like, uh-oh. But they stayed the course, and they were able to dig deep, and they got the win. And, this might be one of those that, as we said, you go back to the 2003 championship run with, did SU basketball get a little bit lucky? You create your own luck, but they were in a whole lot of trouble, and they were able to survive and advance. This team survived, advanced, and now I think you can go into the next one feeling like you can play a little bit looser. The pressure's off you a little bit. You're going up against a team that's seeded higher than you, probably going to be favored. You can play a little looser next week.
Yeah. I will stick by my argument. They coming off the ACC tournament when they should have won that game in an easier fashion, in my opinion. But they didn't. It was a fun game. It was a fun game to watch. I don't think you wanted to be in that situation. Do you think does this give you momentum going forward?
I do. Yeah, I think it absolutely does. Because you were able to survive and advance past a stage that, again, they were dead and buried at halftime, right? And
yeah, I saw the coach get fired, the athletic director get fired. It was amazing.
To be able to pull it out, and now they've got another week of practice and another game to get ready for, and all their goals are still on the table. I think that, yeah, this can be an opportunity to be a launching pad. Mello used that term yesterday at the graduation, a launching pad. A win like that, you can feed off of that, I think, and that could, they could end up in the Final Four very easily. They're one game away against, a really good opponent, but I think if you gave SU fans the opportunity and said, all right, you've got Princeton for the right to go to the Final Four, people would have signed up for that in a heartbeat at the beginning of the season. Right, and you're right there. You're one game away from ending the drought.
And you said this is the easier path of the two, from what I recall.
Well, I said of the four. I said of the four seeds, I think this is the one that if you could pick, they're all good. Yeah. But if you could pick the seed, the top four seed to play, I think you would pick Princeton.
All right, we got through our first segment on a Monday, Steve, and Steve is all dressed up because he talks to the most important people in town. You are a news getter.
You don't have to make fun of me, but I mentioned it because...
How was that making fun of you? I said that was a news getter.
Okay.
You're a news getter.
We didn't talk about it when I arrived. Normally you say, "Why, you're all dressed up today," off air, and we didn't have a chance to talk about it.
No, and like when Coach Brown wanted to talk to somebody about what was going on with football, he reached out to you, Steve Infanti.
I didn't have to get dressed up for that one because it was on radio, but I did get dressed up today.
Dress for the job you want, buddy. Wow, how rude.
I'm joking.
Hey, we don't joke on this show. Why are you making fun of radio? All right, no, it's fine.
315-437-7644. If you'd like to check in on what was just a fantastic game inside the Dome yesterday, SU lacrosse moving on. I guess while we're still talking lacrosse, shall we play the game winner from one Tim Leonard?
Yeah, let's do it. Sure, there's a noise in there, too.
Golden goal, pass to a cutting Hiltz. He darts in, he scores! Owen Hiltz, the senior leader, sends the Orange to the quarterfinals.
Double woo.
Off a feed from Spolina, and an epic comeback in one of the craziest lacrosse games you'll ever see. The Orange advance past Harvard in overtime.
Triple woo.
Triple woo. That's like the triple bang, right? The Mike Breen.
That one was a little contrived, though. They got to come naturally.
It was one of the craziest games you'll see. Tim Leonard's right on the money. Tim Leonard on TK99 with the radio call. We will hear from him coming up at 1 o'clock. We've got Mike McAllister coming up with some big football news. We'll hear from him at 12:30. Programming notes, Steve.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Some people don't get to work 9 to 5 like we do. Although you work all hours, some of us are stuck at work during important NBA playoff games. Tonight, Knicks Celtics will be right here.
Nice.
So tune in.
It's a big one for the Knicks.
Sure is.
All right. We'll take a time out here. We do have Mike McAllister coming up in 15 minutes. Phone lines open. Until then, we're back after this on ESPN Radio.
All the drama.
Now recoils, fades, and hits.
All the excitement. All in one place.
Oh, he's the most active guy in the building.
The NBA playoffs. ESPN 97.7 and 100.1.
I'm Terry.
I'm Tony.
Here at Mannion and Copani, we get two kinds of calls.
One is to do with pre-Medicaid planning. This woman called. She had a question about how many years in advance she had to do pre-Medicaid planning.
I didn't say it wasn't a good game,
she said,
moron.
You sure?
I said it wasn't an all-timer.
I'm absolutely sure. Your plan has to be in place 5 years before your mom goes into a nursing home. There was a long pause. Then she made an appointment to see me.
Sorry. Yes, he went to Woo School. Don't throw stones at from a glass house. I don't live in a glass house. I live in a very Wooden house. Living in a glass house would get really hot in the summer, so I wouldn't do that. So I'll throw all the rocks I want. Steve probably can afford an all-glass house. I can't. So I'll throw rocks everywhere. I'm not walking a mile in anybody's shoes either, because what if they don't fit? That would be uncomfortable, so I'm not going to do that either. I'll just criticize. Thank you. I got to work on my shoulder. Oh, I'm very humble. I'm very humble. I'm great. Thank you. I am great and humble. It's hard to be humble when you're this great. Glad you enjoyed it, Jen. Was a great game. That is true. That was a take I wasn't expecting. Syracuse got out-recruited by UConn because they got a Lemoyne player over a UCLA player. That was one I wasn't expecting today. (315-619) fan says UConn got Lemoyne 6'9" forward Dwayne Korma, and he's better than Kyle from UCLA, which he might be, but I wasn't expecting to see Syracuse should be going for Lemoyne players. Syracuse fan, I got no proof out of that Atan interview. And no offense to Atan, but he said they have receipts. He didn't donate any. He admitted he didn't donate much to NIL. I want to see everything. Yeah, yes, he did say that, but that's not NIL. And everybody knew he did that, but the renovations were for his well-being also. He got courtside seats in a booth, in a box built. It wasn't like he did anything that was university specific. I stink at my job, Steve. Meatloaf, not the food, but the artist of the day. Could be either. R.I.P. Meatloaf. Bat Out of Hell, Steve. You probably weren't allowed to own this album because it was called Bat Out of Hell as a kid. Were you allowed to own Raising Hell by Run DMC?
I have that album.
Oh,
yes.
did you? Shocking. Just couldn't bring it around the nuns.
Did not bring that around the nuns, no.
And
I wasn't
1977.
I wasn't listening to Meatloaf, so I don't know if I would have been able to buy that or not. That never came up.
Right. 12:15 lists and rankings. I'm reading direct. I'm so far behind today.
Why is that? Did you get in late to work?
Yes. Speaking of which, I was late for work to begin with. My own fault.
Yeah.
Stupidity.
Yeah.
81 was 25 minutes. Like it was it was like an actual, like Syracuse traffic's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
This was 25 minutes.
Because of construction, I assume. Yeah. All right, so we are going to talk football in the next segment with Mike McAllister, and On3 has put out its post-spring top 25. We discussed another set of rankings last week about Syracuse checking in at number 24 on that particular ranking. Syracuse not on this one. Tennessee did make the cut here at 24. Again, just goes to show you how tough this schedule is. Clemson third on On3's top 25. Notre Dame 7th. Who else? Miami 20th, SMU 21, Louisville 22, another ACC team, and Tennessee, who Syracuse opens up with at 24. That according to On3.
Yeah, that's more like it. That seems a little more realistic than the last one we did. Quick thing on lists. Also, with Mike McAllister coming up, Syracuse has a top 10 recruiting class.
Yeah.
Not in basketball. Not in lacrosse. Football.
Yeah. They're committing the resources, and Fran knows what to do with those resources. And went out and picked up a huge commitment over the weekend from a 2026 wide receiver. And again, Mike McAllister will fill us in on everything SU football in the next segment. But, yeah, in terms of the preseason top 25, I know where you stand on this, right? You say you want to see these quarterbacks play.
I want to see all the players play,
sure.
really. It's not like last year we knew they were good at tight end. They were good at running back. They were good at receiver. They were good, at quarterback. There's a lot more questions this year. It's a lot younger. The talent level's fine. It's just, we see it in basketball all the time. Freshmen don't really make an impact, and I think you're less likely to get a football freshman impact than you are a basketball freshman impact.
Fair. Yeah.
So, the program's trending in the right direction. I just, be patient. I could be wrong. I could win 8 games this year. I could be wrong, but I think it might be growing pains this year, and then next year it could be a lot of fun.
That first game is really going to be fascinating, right? Because I think there's a lot of question marks with Tennessee as well. Line opened at 14.5 or whatever it was. Now it's down to 10. Tennessee's in some of these rankings, not in some of these rankings. They've got question marks, especially at quarterback. Obviously, we know Syracuse has a question at quarterback in terms of how good will these guys be. I think we know certainly the two that are going to be vying for the position, and they've got the pedigree, but are they going to be able to come out from game one and be ready to to take the keys to the car and drive it the way it needs to be driven? I think that remains to be seen, but I think that first game is going to be fascinating. Neutral site, two teams, coming off really good years, two teams with high hopes, two teams with quarterback questions. So. You hate to put too much on just one game. Like, is it going to determine the outcome of the season? But it's certainly a fascinating matchup to start the year with.
And this might be a case where Syracuse is playing much better at the end of the season than it is at the beginning of the season. But, according to the 2 polls that we have, the most gettable out of the, non-home top 25 teams, Tennessee's it, right?
I think so. And again, it's the first one, and there's
neutral as I put up the quotes, but you're in
SEC country, right? You're down that way, but both teams are going to be in a similar boat with prolific offenses from last year that they lost a lot of pieces, including the starting quarterback, and they're going to be breaking in somebody new. There's not going to be a lot of tape on whoever's starting for either side from a quarterback position, so. It will be interesting to see how that game goes, and how the teams adjust in game. And sometimes we go into a Syracuse football season, and we don't know, or we feel like we won't really know for 3 or 4 weeks how good this team is. I think we'll have a pretty good idea right out of the gate. With a quality opponent, neutral site game. Jump into the deep end of the pool, as Coach P used to say, and. I think we'll have a pretty good idea, right out of the gate where this team is.
Yeah. After that game, you got a couple games to figure things out too. I would, I said it a lot last year. I would have preferred to have the cupcakes first and then do it, but You learn what you got to work on going into those games you should win.
I mean, it's interesting to say that, and I agree with you. I think in an ideal world, you want to ramp up to the big games. However, I think there is a case to be made for...
Catch them off guard?
Well, yeah, like it's Tennessee's first game too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they got to work out the kinks. So you might have... Your best opportunity to win might be that first game.
Right.
Before they figure things out. You might not have it all figured out, but they probably don't have it figured out either. So that might even the playing field a little bit. I think you would rather get a heavy favorite like that in the first game opposed to like the fourth game after they have a chance to kind of figure some things out.
If you get that game, the script is flipped. Like
in terms of the win-loss?
Yeah,
record?
You're going in. People will think you'll be able to beat well, then
you're
not Clemson.
Well, I was going to say, you're definitely going to be 3-0. I mean, you would think.
3-0 going into Clemson.
UConn and Colgate. You're 3-0 going into Clemson.
Yeah. I don't know that that's a winnable game because they're, 2 in the preseason polls?
Yeah, I mean, the third in this one. But, yeah, I mean, they're top 5 in all the ones that I've been seeing.
Man, did the ACC blow it?
Trying to take advantage of them being down,
yeah, Clemson and Florida State were down, and that's what they did. It's like... Yeah, that's not going to happen very often, I don't think. And nobody grabbed the reins and took advantage of the fact that they could build their program while Clemson was struggling to score points.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they look to be back. I mean, by all accounts, they're going to be the favorites in the ACC this year. But the way that the system is now with 12 teams making the college football playoff, we saw 2 teams from the ACC get in last year. Why can't it happen again,
Yeah, take a break here, Steve.
All right, we'll get to Mike McAllister.
To McAllister Monday.
On the other side.
He can break down that number 9 recruiting class.
Yeah.
See where he's got it ranked.
All right, we'll do that next. Mike McAllister on the other side, back after this on ESPN Radio.
I haven't. Why? Someone asked why Atan got the interview and not me. I don't know. He didn't rule out coming on with me, but I also told him I wanted to see everything. I wanted to see the receipts, and everything was on the record. So if he said somebody DM'd him, I wanted to see it. If he said he had receipts, I wanted to see them. So. Yeah, that's fine. It might be right. I just, if you say I got receipts, you got to show them. Yes, it is. Tom did a good job. I will reach out to Adam this week again and see if he wants to come on. I'm not going to be a jerk to the guy. I think it's an important story, LA Orange. I think it's overblown though, if that makes sense. I mean, I just wish somebody would come out and just show what happened and just make a tangible show, even the university, just to be like, this is what happened. I'm looking at it for I don't know either way. I just want somebody to say something and prove it. I'd lie for you, parentheses, and that's the truth. He's got the longest song titles in the history of mankind. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I'd do anything for you, but I won't do that. For God's sakes, just 2 words. Let's go.
Parentheses must be a good song.
It's one of his highest charting songs, and I've never heard it. 11 on the Billboard charts. He only had 1 top 10 hit. It's not good for Meatloaf. Leftover Meatloaf, sandwich, delicious.
Really?
I'm a big Meatloaf. When you grow up in a family of 8, Meatloaf is a staple.
Gotcha. Let's go to our good friend. Yes,
our Meatloaf.
He's always there for us when we talk recruiting.
He's our comfort food.
He is. Our good friend Mike McAllister joining us here on the program. Mike, always great chatting with you. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I've been called worse than Meatloaf, so that's okay.
I think it was a compliment, certainly.
In a weird way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a compliment. All right, let's start. We'll get into lacrosse here in a second, but let's start with football. And big news over the weekend. Highly touted wide receiver signed by Fran Brown, gets a verbal commitment anyway. Tell us about this young man and why it's such a big deal.
Yeah, Amari Goff is his name. He's from Virginia. He is a 4-star prospect, rated in the top 250 players overall. So, I know Fran Brown has a reputation of being a great recruiter, and Syracuse recruiting class was in the top 10 before this, but they had a couple of 4-stars in the class. Now he becomes your 3rd 4-star in the class, and the more of those you start stacking up, it just shows you the level of talent is improving as far as what Fran Brown is bringing in. And we know what he's done in the portal, but he said numerous times that high school recruiting is going to be the foundation of the program he wants to build. So as they're doing so with high-profile recruits, and even honestly some of the 3-stars that they've gotten are highly rated 3-stars, kind of just bordering on 4-star, and ones that several other Power 4 schools were after. They're still after a 5-star wide receiver, Calvin Russell. So it's just one more piece of evidence that Fran Brown is just an elite level recruiter, and I don't know that there's anyone else like him in the country.
Mike, for us people like myself that don't follow recruiting as tightly as you do, you say the 250 best player. We know in basketball, if you get a top 50 player, that's a stud. What is that in football terms? What would you say is a great recruit in football?
So take like the top 300 or so in football and equate that to like the top 100 in basketball, kind of. Those are kind of your elite level, top of the line guys. If you want to say like top 50, you're probably like top 200 or so to get that real high end type of player. He's ranked 213, so he's kind of just outside of that. So he might be, basketball recruiting wise, somewhere in the 50 to 55 range, just outside of that top 50, but still big time prospect, someone you expect that's going to be able to, has the potential to make an impact right away, but at least within a couple of years is going to be someone that you're going to be relying on. Is going to be a big time player for you.
Yeah, this is a new world in football for us. So we're all learning. So you're our educator, our guru.
I'll do my best.
Mike, are there any other names at the moment that we should be looking out for? Or anybody's got a visit lined up that we should be watching out for?
Well, they've got a bunch of official visits that are going to be starting the last weekend in May and then going into June. There's, I don't know, I think a dozen to 2 dozen or so players that are going to be visiting. So it'll be tough to go through all the names. But one name that I'll bring to your attention is Brady Owens. He's a 3-star tight end who is also from Virginia that had an in-home visit with tight ends coach Michael Johnson on Friday and is scheduled to visit Syracuse in the middle of June following visits to Rutgers and Florida State. So he's someone Syracuse has been on for a while, and they've been recruiting extremely hard, and he's going to be up on campus in the middle of June. And as of right now, they have the last scheduled official visit, and then he's planning to go into decision-making mode and hoping to make a decision by sometime in July.
All right. What about basketball? Things have been quiet on the transfer portal front. And I think we all know why, right? I mean, it seems like they've doled out the meaningful minutes, and that they feel good about where they are right now. Do you anticipate some movement at all, though, in the portal for Adrian Autry and his team?
I mean, I was leaning towards yes, but then the fact that they announced the players that they did. Is that being done because they're basically done? I don't know that for sure. It could also mean that they're looking towards international players or junior college players to fill up the last couple of spots of the roster. The problem is, at this juncture, if you're trying to grab somebody for the back end of your roster, it's tough to do so with someone that is good enough to play at a power conference school because those players are looking for playing time. And Syracuse is pretty crowded at almost every position at this point. And it would be tough, I think, to convince someone that there are meaningful minutes available. That doesn't mean it's not possible. It doesn't mean you can't do it. But that's certainly a challenge that Syracuse is going to have at this juncture if they're looking to fill out that roster through the transfer portal.
Are they also kind of in a weird position, too, because they don't know how many scholarships they have? Because it could be 15, it could be 12, 13.
That's also part of it. If it's 12, 13, and they're basically done, right?
Yeah.
If it's 15, then they can add a couple of more. So that whole situation with the house settlement is impacting a variety of sports in a variety of ways, and certainly scholarship allocation is one of them.
All right, let's talk a little lacrosse. And I'm sure you had a chance to watch yesterday. We haven't mentioned the women yet, but their season comes to an end over the weekend in a 1-goal heartbreaker to Yale. The men pick up just a heart-stopping finish, right? And they rally from down 8-2 at the half to win and advance past Harvard. Let's start with the women's game first, I guess. And it just didn't seem to be SU season. They played a lot of close games against a lot of really good teams, and they just seem to come up just a little bit short time and time again.
Yeah, no doubt. And, then towards the end of the season, they kind of started playing their worst lacrosse of the year. We think about that blowout to Boston College that wasn't even really competitive, to be honest with you. And that's, you kind of felt like going into the NCAA tournament, the way that the bracket laid out was that they had a shot to get to the quarters, but then they got to play that Boston College team again. And Boston College, frankly, has had their number ever since Kayla Traynor got there. So I don't think she's beaten them even once. So that was going to be a tough draw regardless. But, like you said, from the injury to Olivia Adamson early in the season to just kind of the way things played out, it just never seemed to fully click with this team. That said, they were in that game. They had a 7-4 lead. Looked like they were the better team for a vast majority of it. And then there were just kind of some strange situations. There was a penalty they called on Yale that would have had their best player ejected, and then they reviewed it, and instead of upholding that, they overturned it and called an embellishment penalty on Syracuse, which I can't ever remember seeing that called in women's lacrosse, and Yale took advantage and scored 3 or 4 straight goals and basically took control of the game. Then there was a review process at one point when the game was tied that took almost 20 minutes of real time to get a review done on something that seemed pretty simple. And a lot of it had to do with shot clock. There were clips of the officials yelling at each other. I mean, it was just a very bizarre game from basically the second half on. And, ultimately Syracuse got a point-blank shot down by 1 right in front of the net, and instead of getting it on Cage, the shot hit a Yale defender, and that pretty much ended the game. So unfortunate way for them to end it. Certainly a bizarre series of events there at one point, but kind of encapsulates the whole season, I think.
All right, let's move on to the men now. And I guess, did you give up hope at all for Syracuse in that game? And if so, when was that?
Yeah, I gave up hope when it was 7-1. I just said, they're done. They just didn't look like they had the energy and the sense of desperation, the sense of urgency that you need in an NCAA tournament game where it's win or go home. It just seemed like they rolled into it like it was ho-hum, random regular season game against a team that they thought they could just walk out there and blow out. And that's the way it felt basically for the entire first half, whereas Harvard seemed like the team that was desperate, extra motivated, et cetera. And it was a little bit discouraging. They seemed unorganized on offense. McCool wasn't making very many saves. Seemed like when they did get a stop, they couldn't clear it. Everything was going wrong. And then at some point, midway through the third quarter, everything clicked. And with the domination they had at the faceoff X, it just felt like as Syracuse's offense got in a rhythm, that they had the potential to just rally off 5, 6, 7 goals in a row pretty quickly, and that's exactly what they did. Little disappointed they couldn't close it out in regulation and had to go to overtime, but either way, still a pretty thrilling win, an all-time classic in Syracuse, and they give themselves a shot to end the championship weekend-less streak that they've had going on for about 12 years now.
Had they not come back and won that game, Mike, what would we be talking about today as it pertains to lacrosse? Would we be talking about potential changes, or would we just be talking about what a disappointing season it was?
Well, you'd certainly be talking about the disappointing season. As far as the changes in the coaching staff, I don't think that's something that would have been done, to be honest with you. But I do think that there would have been a certain portion of the fan base that would have been asking those questions or making those comments for sure.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I don't think anything would have happened to the staff. But, as we saw during the basketball season, I think there certainly would have been some chatter from some of the fan base about what's going on here. How do they keep coming up short? But we don't have to have that conversation. Syracuse is moving on, and now they get Princeton in the national quarterfinals with a spot in the Final Four on the line. I said to Paulie earlier in the show that I feel like that they might be able to use this to kind of take some of the pressure off, right? They're playing with house money to some degree. They were dead and buried. They came back. They won. Now they're playing a team that's higher, a higher seed than them. Do you feel like they can go in next weekend and play a little bit looser than maybe they played yesterday early on?
I think they can play looser, but I think they have to bring that same level of urgency and desperation that we saw when they were down, 6, 7 goals, whatever it was, midway through the third quarter. From that point on, they played like their hair was on fire. Like, hey, we're getting back to championship weekend. We're turning this around. We're getting back to what Syracuse lacrosse should be. They played with that level of, enthusiasm, of energy. They have to bring that right away. They can't wait until midway through the third quarter to do that against Princeton. Princeton's better than Harvard. I wouldn't say leaps and bounds better because I think Harvard is a good team, but I don't think you can play around with that again in a quarterfinal situation. So, Harvard's really good, Princeton's really good. I think coming into the season, most thought that Syracuse was the better, more talented team. They might have more talent top to bottom, but it's going to be whoever plays the best on Saturday.
Yeah, we saw that in the regular season finale, too, against North Carolina, right? The playing with the sense of urgency that they got down, and then they all of a sudden turned it on, and the comeback came up just short. But they look like a different team when they flip that switch. And as you said, they got to have that switch has to be flipped from the opening faceoff next weekend.
Yeah, if they play like that for an entire game, honestly, they can win the national championship. There's no one that I think when everyone is playing at that level, at their complete max, I think Syracuse is the best team in the country, especially with the way they can dominate the faceoff with John Mullen. So if they play that way for the entire game, all 4 quarters, I know it's a cliche, but if they play that way for all 4 quarters against Princeton. I think they'll be going back to championship weekend for the first time in over a decade. And if they play that way at championship weekend, we could see the first title here in quite some time as well.
Yeah, we saw them play like that at the ACC tournament. They went down there with some urgency, and they played like that against Notre Dame and Duke, and came away with a couple of wins. Yeah, they're looking for their first title since 2009. It's been it's hard to believe that it's been that long, but we'll see if they can. First things first, right? They got to get to the Final Four, and a game on Saturday against Princeton with the right to advance on a championship weekend. Mike, as always, we appreciate the time, great insight, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Mike McAllister with us here on the show. And with that, we'll open up the phone lines for the next segment, 315-437-7644 if you'd like to check in. Quick break here. Back after this on ESPN Radio.
I'm proud of you guys right now. Just want you to know that. You guys are not fighting with each other. You're talking sports. You're being respectful. Look at you guys. It's like my kids are behaving. What's going on? What's happening? I don't like it. Showbro Michael, that sounds like a nerd game. Battlefield. Steve, do you play Battlefield 2042?
I was going to say I don't know what that is, but I do know what that is.
Do you?
Yeah.
Save some ladies for the rest of us.
On the phone, like the numbers game? Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know.
Is it the numbers?
In between the ladies, Showbro Michael sneaks in a good game of Battlefield 2042. Steve still plays Battleship from 1974.
Oh no, I don't know Battlefield 2042. That's not what I thought it was.
Yeah, do you have a gaming system?
There's a numbers game. We've got old school Wii in the basement that's set up for the kids. But no, that's all I got.
Yes. That to all the boys.
There's a long interlude or introduction to that song of Talking. I skipped it. You took the words right out of my mouth by Meatloaf. Another long title, Steve. Why is Scooter in all caps today? He wants to talk face-offs in lacrosse. I'm proud of our listeners today, Steve. Our chat's just talking sports. They're not like, they haven't brought up politics. They haven't called each other names. They're growing up right before our
Sun's
eyes.
shining. That helps.
That could be it.
That helps.
That could be it.
Scooter, what's up?
Yeah, first of all, a little tidbit about Phil Rizzuto. I know Paulie was going to play the song, but Phil Rizzuto, when he did the voiceover, had no clue what the theme of the song was about. And he was a little upset when he found out what it was, but when he found out his grandchildren loved it, and they won a Grammy, I think, for it, and so he was all happy about it. But when he did it, he didn't know anything about the song itself. He just did the voiceover.
Steve, do you know what the song Paradise by the Dashboard Light's about?
Who are the Dashboard Lights again? No, I'm kidding.
Do you know what the song's about?
I don't know the song, so
okay. Try and put two and two together.
I'm guessing I know what Paradise is about. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Submarine races there, Steve. The face-off, guys. I know, in fact, that was great because Tim answered the phone, so he thought the same thing a little bit. It seems to be a big advantage if you get the face-off. I mean, other sports, you have to get the ball back. Basketball, you're down 20. At least the other team inbounces the pass. In football, forget about the onside kick unless you tell them in the NFL that you're going to do an onside kick. It seems to be a big advantage. And I thought a couple of years ago they were talking about maybe toying without the face-off. I know it worked for Syracuse's advantage, but to me it seems like a big advantage if you have a good face-off guy.
No doubt. And I think we saw that yesterday during the comeback, that it was, it was make it, take it. It really was. It was, they scored, they got it, they scored, they scored 5 goals in the span of less than 2 minutes in that fourth quarter, and that's what opened the door for it.
Yeah, in hockey there's a face-off, but you're in the middle of the ice and the puck goes all around. But it seems to be a face-off in lacrosse. If you get it, you kind of control it, and you're already almost in the offense stuff. But it worked. I was telling Timmy, our first title, I think, in '83, we're playing John Hopkins, and it worked to our advantage. We're down 6-7 goals. And Syracuse got the face-off 4 or 5 times in a row and scored in the same scenario, scored 5 or 6 goals in 2 minutes. But I just thought that they were going to toy with it and see how it would have been without the face-off. But it worked for Syracuse and so we're all happy. But it was, like I said, it was a real great game, and we'll go see what Princeton is, and then we'll see about the Final Four.
Yeah, and by the way, Harvard played like that all season long. They, going into the game, they were in the 60s in the country in terms of time of possession, and they were, top 5, top 3 in scoring, which, again, they didn't have the ball a lot. They didn't win a lot of faceoffs, but they were very efficient on the offensive end when they did have it, and we saw that yesterday against the Orange.
All right. You were at graduation?
I was.
Correct?
Obviously, yep.
Your daughter graduated. There was one basketball great, Carmelo Anthony.
There were 2 there, actually. Billy Owens
graduated.
He was. He sat like 2 rows, like right in front. He was down the level where we were, but he was in the last row of, he was like right in front of us.
Donovan McNabb was there.
Donovan was there too, yeah.
It's a star-studded gala. So you were there. Carmelo Anthony spoke. How was it?
It was good. He went up there, and I actually said to Kim, I said, is he reading off a teleprompter? Because he didn't have any notes with him at all, and he just talked. And I was like, I couldn't tell if the speech was written, because he had some lines in there that I feel like were written. But she yes, there was teleprompter, but we don't know if he was reading off a teleprompter or not, because then one of the people on the stage said that he had no notes and that he was just completely going off the top of his head. So I don't know if it was completely scripted or not. He did a really nice job. I wish that he had shared a story or two, like a funny story or two during his time. He kept it very on topic, and it was very delivering the message and believe in yourself and, everything that you would expect from a graduation speech. And he talked about how, Syracuse gave him all the tools to where he needed to be and don't let your resume define you and look at all the things he's doing now. And it was a great message. But I wanted to hear, something about him and Coach Boeheim, or
maybe he wanted to stay in his lane this time.
Yeah, he did. He did not mention Jim Boeheim, which I was a little disappointed with because I know they're very close, and he didn't talk really much about basketball at all.
That's all right. I get that. This is a good lesson for everybody when they're complaining about Syracuse and NIL and this other stuff. There's more to it than basketball. Sometimes you put basketball aside. Syracuse is a school of learning, Steve. I never learned nothing. So, maybe he was just this isn't about basketball. This is about academics today.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get
I'm not
it.
coming down on you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But, he walked in, there's the big procession. Everybody comes. It takes an hour to get everybody in their seats, literally an hour from when they start processing to when the last person takes their seats. And when he came on the big screen, huge roar for him. When he's introduced, they're going through his litany of accomplishments. It's basketball related. People screaming, we love you, Melo. They were there cheering him on because of basketball. And it's fine that he chose not to go down that path. You asked how it was. It was very good. I would have liked him to talk, maybe a little bit longer and share a story or two that we hadn't heard yet, or something behind the scenes of his time there, or, his relationship with Coach Boeheim, or something along those lines. Or even, we've heard the story, we've heard the story a lot about the fact he wanted to come back, but Boeheim said he couldn't come back, something like that. But he didn't really get all that personal. He just kind of kept it about the students, and he talked a little bit about his son going there and how it's really cool to have that legacy and for him to walk the same halls he did. And it was well done, and he delivered it great. And so I'd give him a solid A, but for A+, I would like to see a couple of stories or hear a couple of stories.
All right. Fressy and Fonnie just created Carmelo Anthony.
You asked me to.
I know. Here's Jordan took a clip of some motivation from one Carmelo Anthony.
Your path won't be a straight line. And that's okay. When I left for the NBA, I thought basketball would be my whole story. But life had underplans. I found myself just drawn to other passions. Business, philanthropy, storytelling. I became an entrepreneur. I started a podcast. I started boardrooms. I stepped into boardrooms and took conversations about culture, ownership, equity. And I realized that I was more than just an athlete. And so are you. More than just your major. More than your resume. More than others expect you to be. You don't have to fit in a box, and I want to tell you that. You don't have to fit in a box. You can have multiple careers. You can change directions. You can evolve again and again, as long as you keep chasing what sets your soul on fire. But one thing, as you chase your dreams, don't forget where you came from. And don't forget the people who helped you get there.
Good stuff.
It was.
A+ from me.
It was good stuff.
I'm not going to cheat Carmelo of a plus like you did.
He did a nice job delivering it, and again, seemed to speak from the heart and, off the cuff, and I thought he did a really nice job. I do. Yeah, I see a comment in our chat here from WC Sparky, who says that they had to cut the graduation short because of the changeover. That did come up yesterday. Like, we were discussing that because, again, my wife had the order of events and the running time and knew the time of show. And it was supposed to go until when he took the stage, they were running about 20 to 25 minutes ahead of schedule. Now, did they make that change in terms of the timing to get it done day of, on the spot? And maybe they did. Maybe they told him to make it a little bit shorter. I suppose that's possible. We discussed that because we thought Melo, it was a little bit shorter than we expected.
By the way, props to the changeover people and those guys that just getting the graduation set up alone in any time is amazing.
It's a major undertaking.
And then to get a lacrosse game in what, 5 hours was it?
Yeah, I mean the graduation got over at 11:15. They were very much ahead of schedule, and then the game was at 5. So But yeah, obviously tight time frame. I'm not minimizing that, but the graduation went very quickly compared to years past.
They should do that every year for every graduation.
The procession, man, that's what takes up the most time. Literally from it started at 9:30. Everybody got in their seats. Like the last person sat down at like 10:33. It took an hour to get all the faculty in, all the graduate students, all And there's a procession, and they're waving. It's great. I mean, it's great, but it's I don't know. I wonder if there's a way they could do that part a little bit more efficiently.
All right, maybe they should also cut out the whole you get your name called and brought up on stage.
They don't do that at that one.
Oh, they don't? Oh,
no,
nice.
That's so you go to the end of, like, whatever your school is. So my daughter was School of Education. So that was Saturday. That's the one that you get to call up and you get your degree.
Gotcha.
Yesterday it was just School of Education, please stand.
All right, I like that.
That's basically
All right.
The bing, bang, boom with the different schools.
Yeah, please cut Steve saying bing, bang, boom. I don't know why, but that made me happy.
All right. We'll take a timeout. We are kicking off hour number 2 with Tim Leonard.
Steve-like.
He will join us
bing,
next.
bang, boom. Golly gee
Tic-tac-toe.
whiz.
Back after this on ESPN Radio.
We're running late. I hope our guest isn't mad. Are you stealing Kendrick Lamar? Are you biting Kendrick? Are you biting Kendrick Lamar?
Is that a thing?
Yeah. Didn't you watch a Super Bowl show?
I did. He said bing, bang, boom.
Yeah, he said that's like his biggest lyrics. No, Carmelo will never come on our show because you didn't give him an A+.
Oh, stop.
Way to go,
Tyler
Steve.
Hockey comes on and gave him a B+.
Well, way to go, Steve. Oh, I'm cultured there, LA Orange. You settle down. Sometimes I don't let it slip out. I just sold a Don Beebe autograph card as I'm starting my little venture here of selling. I thought I'd get like $25 for it. I got $1 for it. That's not great. That's not a good return on investment. I thought Don Beebe would sell to like a Bills fan for something. Took a bath on that one. I should have kept the Don Beebe card and given it to Steve for Christmas this year instead of selling it. It was to 25 too. Yeah, I took a bath. Marissa, how are you? Want to say hi to the Q Sports Talk people? No? No? All right. She said she hates you. I'll do a consignment sale for you. 15% to me, 15% to eBay. But if they're all junk wax there, I'm not doing it because it's too much work for too little money. No, I'm not going to take 50-50 from you, Kevin. My website's not like known enough to do the sales on my website, so I'd have to do it through eBay to start as I work my way towards getting bigger. Yikes, Orange Johanna, you probably should have. I was just telling him I sold the Don Beebe auto out of 25 for $1. I thought I was going to get like 25 for it. Oof. And then I said I should have kept it and given it to you for your Christmas present.
What's that?
I said I should have kept it. So you could have I'm going to get you the whole 4 Super Bowl teams autographs. Yes, I do. Not that I don't take any memorabilia, but I do have some cool Cuse memorabilia. Like I have a Jim Brown helmet that I had him sign when he was here once. Welcome back to Orange Nation. Rock and Roll Dreams Come Through. Another long-ass title from Meatloaf. Tim Leonard joins us. How's your voice, Tim? Got some exciting calls going.
Feeling good. I mean, how can you not have fun yesterday with that game? That was awesome. Definitely went to the tee this morning, but all good.
So I asked Mike McAllister a question. I'll ask you. I mean, you're calling the game. You know this team better than anybody. Had you given up hope that they were going to win that game?
I mean, if you did give up hope, I would not blame you yesterday. I think collectively at halftime, Kyle and I were sitting there like, what's going on? Why is this happening? Like, I think I said it during the halftime break that it felt like almost a mashup of all of the flaws from the Gary Gate era or from this team just all into one, like a greatest hits in the worst way possible. But I think we agreed that they probably were going to have a rally in them just because of the face-off disparity, and we knew that they were going to dominate the face-offs going into the game, and they were starting to do that, and then it became even more lopsided in the second half. My guess at halftime, though, was it was probably going to end up like the UNC game, the last home game, where it's like some great rally late, and the crowd gets involved, and they show you that because this team has had a good amount of fight and a good amount of resiliency in game throughout the season. I mean, they have come back from deficits each and every game recently that they've won, it feels like. So I believe that they were going to have a fight because of the face-offs. I just didn't know if it was going to be too little too late. And honestly, after the third quarter, I think I had given up more hope because then you're down by, I think it was 4 going into the fourth quarter, and you played pretty well in the third quarter, but you still showed some signs of sloppiness, and there were some offsides and things that you just couldn't have happen if you were trying to come back.
Yeah, and then Harvard scored the first goal of the fourth quarter. I think that's, for me, when it was 10-5, I think I was like, all right, well, this just isn't going to happen.
And then they score again. Jack Spidell scored, and it was 11-6 with 10:59 remaining. So at that point, you're just kind of like, all right, one goal at a time, you know, anything can happen. You are winning the faceoffs. But really, they needed Harvard to start penalizing, and they did. And that really changed the game. That unreleasable penalty is when they started chipping away. And then I've said it during the game, we were all over the crowd and everything, but I do think the crowd just, like, summoned them from that point. The way that the crowd came alive, it was amazing to see.
What do you think changed from an X's and O's standpoint, if anything, I guess, at halftime? Or you know, you mentioned the penalties, and Syracuse took advantage of that, and the face-offs, but did you see anything just in terms of the way they were attacking the Harvard defense in that second half that changed?
I don't think anything changed too much. I think they played a little bit quicker in the second half. My read on it is they felt, okay, we're going to dominate the face-offs again. And what did we do wrong in the first game? Well, we turned the ball over. We struggled to clear. Harvard is very good at the little things to win back possessions. They won a lot of the key ground balls. So I think the team was almost playing slow and trying to have more methodical offensive possessions than they typically do in the first half, which honestly I think was a good strategy in theory because you are winning a lot of the faceoffs, and if you're just smart with possession, you're probably in a very comfortable spot. It's also kind of the strategy they used in the last game against Duke when it was second game in 3 days. They kind of slowed it down, won in a different style, and we were very complimentary of how they did that. So I think after the first half, once they were in a deficit, it just became Pat March and the Orange coaching staff were like, all right, we got to start playing fast and playing instinctively and kind of get back to Syracuse lacrosse. And for as much chatter as fans have about, oh, why are they going for the behind-the-back pass and crunch time and stuff like that? I mean, Hiltz goes BTB to Leo on a perfect pass, and when it works, it's awesome, and it's the best thing ever. And yesterday was really fun when they were grooving.
And then in overtime, after they give up that last possession where you think they're going to run out the clock, and then they turn it over, Harvard forces the turnover, Harvard goes down and scores. Take us through that first possession of overtime. Owen Hiltz, didn't have his best game, but he got the goal that ended it.
Yeah, and I think that was a perfect play for Owen Hiltz and what kind of he's about, because he's such a smart lacrosse player, and that's the number one thing that when you talk to other coaches around the sport or you talk to the Syracuse coaches, they say he's one of the smartest players they've been around. He's one of the smartest players in lacrosse right now. And the way that was kind of off script, he just noticed his D-pole was kind of glancing the other way, not really looking at him. And he says, you know what, I see Joey's got his hands free. I'm just going to make a beeline down the left alley, gets inside somehow, and was able to just find a way to get it in the back of the net. And that's the amazing thing about Hiltz is really that's the only time through three quarters yesterday of all the games I've called of his, I mean, he's been so consistently good when the team has been inconsistent in a lot of this recent season. So, he always is there for a goal or two, or he has that streak that now did continue of scoring at least 1 point in every game of his career. And when he was off, that's when it was just sort of rattling to see him and Sam English just sort of not playing their best when those are two guys that are usually very consistently good.
How important was that win yesterday for the program?
Yeah, huge. I mean, I think rightfully so, that would have been a win that would have led to some criticism from the fans and the way that the first half was going. And I mean, I don't really blame the guys for coming out and playing tight because there is a lot of pressure around this program, and there was a big crowd there, and we know what's at stake with the history of the drought and everything. But I can understand why it would have been one of those that really makes you wonder, like, okay, is this still trending in the right direction? Because we've been honest about they've checked every box along this rebuild, and this year, to continue progressing, the next box would be get back to the Final Four after they won a game of the tournament last year and hosted last year and checked that box. And, it would have been really a bummer to lose in the first round when you're a preseason number 2 team. And the way that they were playing in the first half was very alarming. But I think it says a lot about the coaching staff and a lot about the culture that is within the program right now, that they dug deep, and when pretty much everyone had counted them out, they clearly, within that locker room, still had a lot of belief in themselves, and it's become almost a joke how all the players are saying, next day, next play, we're trying to win each day. But I really do think that mindset has allowed them to come back from some big deficits this year. And, of course, you have to have John Mullen winning the faceoffs yesterday, and the penalties and everything went their way, but they were ready to take advantage of that because they never lost belief in themselves.
No doubt that they never lost belief in themselves, and they were able to get it done. The question was posed earlier about whether or not that was a top 5 lacrosse game inside the Dome. Obviously, there have been a million great games that Syracuse has been involved in
their history. Not just inside the Dome.
So in their history, I brought up the championship game against Cornell. There's countless games against Virginia. There's the early '90s teams. There's the the Powells.
Yeah,
it's hard to say that was a top 5 game just maybe because of recency bias. But I mean, where do you kind of put that one yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost impossible to put it in that category when you're talking about a first round game, I guess. But I'll say this. I mean, first off, Kyle has seen pretty much all the games, and he was on the sideline for the 83 national title, that big comeback. He compared the comeback yesterday to that because of how lopsided and how dire it seemed for Syracuse at times going into the fourth quarter. The other thing I'll say is, even though there was only about 5,000 fans there, I don't think I've ever really seen the Dome take over a sporting event like it did yesterday. And I think the moment that'll really stick with me from that game is once they scored, I think, the first time on that unreleasable penalty. So there's about 10 minutes left in the game. They're still down by 3 maybe at that point, maybe 4 goals. And it was as if like 10 people stood up from the crowd, and then like the group next to them stood up. And then everyone in unison sort of stood up for the first time. And it wasn't in response to a goal or a big play. It was kind of like, let's get these guys going. And it was really like a tidal wave of like the crowd all standing. And then from that point on, no one sat that was in attendance yesterday. And the crowd just kept building and getting louder and louder. So, I mean, Kyle gave his player of the game, or Saab Intelligent player of the game afterwards to the crowd.
Nice.
Because, I mean, it really was like they totally changed the game, I thought.
I know it's early in the week, but you watch a lot of lacrosse. What can you tell us about Princeton?
Yeah, Princeton's really good. I mean, they've struggled at the face-off X throughout the year, and it's been weird because Andrew McMeekin is a returning guy for them at the face-off position. He was facing off literally around like 30% for a good chunk of the season, and he has gotten very hot in the last 2 games. The first game was against Harvard, their last game before the tournament in the semis, and they dominated, like everyone has seemingly dominated Harvard at the faceoffs. And then they faced off very well against Towson, and Matt Constantinides is a good faceoff guy for Towson. So they're starting to get possessions more than they have. Their goalie's improving, and a lot like Syracuse, they have a loaded offense that shares the ball. Everyone can really score. I mean, it's balanced attack. So, and Coulter Mackesy is one of the better attackers in the country. He'd be kind of their top guy. He's a Tewaaraton finalist. So, all in all, this is a step up, I would say, from Harvard, but kind of a similar style to Harvard in terms of Syracuse might win the faceoffs, but it is going to be a big challenge for the Orange defense when they are on that end of the field.
And again, they've got 3 losses. They lost to Maryland at the very beginning of the season, then lost to Cornell twice. This is a really good team. 2:30 face-off down on Long Island on Saturday. Tim, great stuff, and appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Can't believe they have another game, so it'll be fun.
All right, we'll take a timeout here. Phone lines open the rest of the way, 315-437-7644. Back after this on ESPN Radio.
I like when you say it's a genius take.
I mean,
I hate to put a game.
I also, I wasn't around for a lot of those games, so I don't think it's fair for me.
I think it would be hard to have a top 5 Syracuse lacrosse game at this point.
I think it's also, who even cares? It doesn't have to be.
But you know what I'm saying? There's so many games we have no idea about, but it's just.
Yeah.
Well, and I kind of stand by what I said at the beginning of the show. I think if they go on to win the national title, I think you will look at this differently than if they, just.
But I think it just represented all the lore of Syracuse lacrosse in the Dome, the mystique of they're never down and out, all that.
Let me ask you this: we mentioned that Oklahoma State game with Jerry. Would you consider that a top 5 game in Syracuse history?
Well, I guess I look at that. I kind of lump it into the run. The 4 days, the 4 days of the Big East tournament. It's that is, Jerry's 4 games at the Garden. That was a top 5 moment.
I get that, but we were saying in a bubble,
right?
I wouldn't put that game, but that run was freaking insane.
Yeah,
I would put the 2 Jerry games in the
first 2 games
Big East tournament ahead of that.
I think UConn it's also, if you were at that game yesterday and you believe it was top 5.
Yeah, I'm not going to kick you in the nuts.
I think being there will be a memory for everyone that was there, and that's kind of whether we, it's a good problem because there's so many good games in the Dome, I guess, but it's tough to actually rank it.
Somebody asked me earlier about having things from my years working at Syracuse. It's not mine, but I did help a member of the national championship basketball program steal the chair they sat on.
Really?
During the game. Yeah.
More details? Can you share?
I'm not going to say who it was, but it was literally, hey, take this, put it in the back of your rental car, but just walk out like you know what you're doing, like you're supposed to be doing it. And I did, and nobody stopped me. So it was those purple chairs with the cushion, and I drove it back to Syracuse for him.
That's funny.
It wasn't a player or a coach that I stole it for. This person saw that everybody was getting it, and he decided he wanted one. It wasn't Brent X. This person was not getting a chair. I stole a towel. I have a Gatorade towel from the 2003 National Championship. Yeah. I was just freaking ripping things off. That's not okay. So Gavendo sent a picture of it. That's not the chair I have. The chair is purple with white. Gavendo. So maybe it was out of the locker room. I don't know. But he just handed me a chair and said, go put this in your car. Oh, it's a remake? Gotcha. Like, if somebody asked me to do that now at 52, I sure as hell wouldn't have done it. But when I was 32, I was like, oh, yeah, why not? It wasn't Matt Potter. It was a person who was associated with the program. It wasn't Mark. It was somebody who sat on the chair or a chair. Maybe he's got two and he didn't know he was getting one. I don't know. I never asked him. I'll have to ask next time I see him. Welcome back to Orange Nation. Oh, this is a banger, Steve. Slow skate.
Slow skate.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. You know this one, right?
Yes.
Our rundown says reports are coming out that Giannis wants out of Milwaukee or is considering it, Steve.
I love that you cite our rundown.
Because I was literally out of it today. So I'm just reading right along. I'm just reading it.
I mean, do you blame him?
No.
I don't either.
What do you? How many years has he got left? It would have to be a trade, right? So Embiid for Giannis straight up?
Oh, man. I mean, would the Bucks do that?
I mean, you'd probably have to throw in a pick or two.
Giannis has 2 years left on his contract.
A pick or two, and Embiid.
Embiid is so injured.
For Giannis.
He's so injury prone.
I'd do it. As a Sixers fan.
Well, as a Sixers fan, yeah. I don't know if you do that if you're the Bucks. I don't know. Are Embiid's best days behind him? I think the answer is yes, right?
Yeah, I don't know. If he stays healthy, he's still the best center in basketball, right?
I mean, that's a huge if. Huge if.
I don't know.
I don't blame Giannis for looking around. I mean, I think it's kind of run its course there. And, you know, he's so good that, you know, you put him on a contender right now that somebody like him could put them over the top. And that could shift the balance of power. And you look at the East right now in particular. The West, there's a lot of really good teams. The East, I mean, look at Cleveland. They're the 1 seed. They look like they're going to lose that series to the Pacers. The Celtics, I don't really know what to make of the Celtics. They, you know, have been the better. I'm hesitant to say this. They've been the better team against the Knicks for most of that series, but they can't close them out. So I don't know if you could say they've been better. I mean, the Knicks have done enough to win 2 games, and they're up 2-1. I mean, Celtics have led for a majority of the minutes. I guess my point is, though, there's nobody in the East that you look at and say, well, nobody can beat them.
What would you give up for him?
Giannis?
Like,
I mean, again, I think
that's
if you feel like you're that piece away from winning a title, you do what it takes. You know, if you've got the core around him, the roster around him to win it.
But how many teams in that position have like legitimate good draft picks to give up? You know,
I mean, it's a good question. I don't.
I'm not saying you don't know, but or no. I'm just saying it seems like that would be a tough. You'd probably have to involve a third team.
Yeah, and the danger is, do you mortgage your future to try and win now? Like, how confident are you that you can win? I do think that the East is up for grabs right now. You know, if it's, and I don't know that the Bucks would trade him in the Eastern Conference, right? He is a difference maker, obviously, and I think if you put him on a pretty good roster, that pretty good roster becomes a great roster, and. You know, so I think there are plenty of interested parties. Now, whether or not they can make it happen and pull it off, that remains to be seen.
People are saying the Knicks. Would you give up Giannis for current players, or would you want draft picks? Because you're not going to, if you lose him, you're not winning, right? That is a complete blow up and rebuild at that point.
Talking about the Bucks?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you're the Knicks, there are certain guys that are untouchable on your roster. I think Jalen Brunson at the top of the list. And honestly, maybe he's the only guy that's untouchable on that roster. But you've got enough good pieces that if they give up picks and
they don't, they don't have, according to Brian, they've got none.
Well,
so.
Right. I don't know if it makes sense for them, but you know, if you're the Knicks, you give up a piece or two. But to your point about the Bucks, I don't know that the Bucks would be interested in. You know, are they interested in Karl Anthony Towns?
If the Celtics lose, that would be interesting.
Yeah, what happens with them, and do they blow it up?
They could go after him.
It's interesting. I mean, he really would put that team away. Like if they
would actually legitimately get younger.
If they kept Tatum and Brown, and you know those were the two untouchables, pair them with Giannis. I mean, who's beating them? Who's beating them in the East, you know? The West is a different animal, but who's beating them in the East?
Speaking of trades, Steve, I floated a wonky trade idea for baseball out the other day, and I saw multiple people also said the same thing I did. The Padres should trade Xander Bogaerts and one of their top 10 prospects to the Red Sox for Devers. Their contracts are basic. His is Bogaerts is a little less, but I think that would make a lot of sense.
Both sides win?
Yeah. I don't get it. Bogaerts is hitting like 250. He's a shortstop, and I like him. The Padre fans don't like. They want him to be like an MVP, and I don't get that.
Yeah.
But his contract's an albatross. But if you could get him. If you could get rid of them and get Devers, hell yeah. And you have to give up either like one of the top, their two big prospects. I do it in a second. But then are you moving Machado to DH your first base? Who knows?
Yeah. All right. We've got today's business still to come. We'll take a timeout. We'll get to today's business on the other side. We'll bring in Jordan. We've got a half hour left. Yeah, Paulie.
We talked about something on Friday, Steve, and a person has gone viral on TikTok talking about the exact same thing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we weren't good. We should have posted it as a clip on Q Sports Talk. So I'll share that as my kicker.
Okay. I look forward to that. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.
He might be a team player, just not for them. Did you see the home run he hit this weekend? I don't care what kind of team player it is. He hit like a 440-foot dead center home run. It was like still going up when it hit the wall. Oh, yeah, and Bogaerts bitched when they moved him to second base last year. So it's not like it's unheard of. I mean, he did it, but he bitched about it. So, Govendo, I'm mad. If you're right that they all got chairs and I stole a second one for this person, I'm going to be mad. Put my life on the line. I was just trying to be cool. Or maybe I did it before they knew they were getting them. Who knows? Can't take it back now, and I'm hoping that the statute of limitations is up on it. You know what the coolest perk of me working at Syracuse has ever been? They sent me, when I first started Syracuse, my first year they played in, it was either first or second year, Syracuse played in that Peach something or another. It was the game Bernie Fine was head coach, and they got blown out by Georgia Tech. We all got free DVD players and iPods, like when they were just like nobody had DVD players or iPods back then. It was awesome. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I've never gotten anything from the university since. I deleted a song I wasn't supposed to, I think. I lost a Meatloaf song somewhere, so I'm playing the big one now. You know this, right, Steve? Paradise by the Dashboard Lights.
I guess I have heard this one. When you said this, the song title, but yes, I've heard this song.
You know what this song's about?
I do.
A little backseat action, if you know what I'm talking about. Phil Rizzuto, the OG Scooter.
The OG Scooter.
I think you got to earn that nickname, right? You can't just be taking Scooter. We ever asked him why his name is Scooter?
I don't know. Next time he's on.
Is he on a scooter? Like one of those hover rounds?
I know it's an alias. I'll let him tell you any additional information.
You're not allowed to name yourself something either.
I know that that my former boss knows him, went to school with him. He did not know him as Scooter, so I will tell you that.
Does he want to come in and host again? That was fun.
That was fun. Sure.
I'll be
sure
sick that day.
Sure we can make that happen over the summer.
All right, it's time for today's business, brought to you by
Grossman Santa Moore CPAs.
And their website, Jordan?
GSACPAs.com.
Let's get to business.
Let's get to business. Starting with something that's kind of just an observation here, but I've been seeing it a lot.
All right, let's observe.
So you remember, what was it, probably a couple years ago now, the Savannah Bananas came to Syracuse?
Yes.
A couple years ago, maybe it was within like a year.
We had their announcer on.
We did, Biko. Biko's the man. Biko Scala. Since that, and this happens, right? You know, when you become a dynasty, people start to hate you.
I get it.
I feel like everything I've seen on Twitter about the Bananas in the past like year or so, people are really turning on them. Like they're filling stadiums. And you're just seeing like, I don't get the appeal. How are they filling these stadiums? I must be missing out. What do you, I don't know if either of you guys have like watched a game or were there or whatever, but how do you see it? Because I think it's cool for clips and highlights and I respect what they're doing. But also when I went, it was a good time. But it was a lot of like fart jokes and twerking, which wasn't really my vibe at the Diamond. But it's for kids.
For you. Yeah, it's for kids.
For sure. But like on social media, I feel like it's not just for kids. Some of the humor like isn't just kids. I don't know. I think it's a vibe, but I also just think that the turn that people are having towards the Bananas is crazy.
I haven't seen this. I hate them though.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
Just want to fit in.
Okay.
I'm turning on them. But how do you hate? That's like hating the Harlem Globetrotters. Why do you, get out of here with that.
I kind of agree with that too. That's why I wanted to ask about it, whether or not it seems ridiculous. But
if you're an adult,
if you go on Twitter, you'll see it. People are like, I don't get the appeal. They just filled the Titans stadium, and I don't get it. What am I missing?
You know what I hate? Guys on stilts playing baseball. I hate it. Like, what? Shut up. Well, then don't go.
Oh, that guy did a backflip while he caught it. Screw him.
Yeah, come on. Unwritten rules. You can't throw the ball between your legs to the first baseman.
I think you said it. I mean, it's as you said, Paulie. It's for the kids. It is what it is, and it's not my cup of tea either. I've never seen them in person. I don't really have a desire to see them in person.
And that's what I wanted.
My son wanted to go.
What is your cup of tea, Steve? I would love to know what your cup of tea. Someday we're gonna find. Let's do a segment called "What's Your Cup of Tea?" and we would just say weird things that we like.
Yeah, it's not that.
Should we do a segment called "Cup of Tea," and you just we fill like a little tea mug with strips of paper with things you like written on them, and then we pick one every day, and we just let you kind of.
Do you like the Harlem Globetrotters? Are they your cup? You do? They're not my cup of tea. Like that. Like I've seen that act too much.
I've seen right. I mean, I'm not clamoring to go, but I've seen it.
Those
I
games
enjoyed
are
myself.
legitimately rigged, though. Some of them, right? Like the Globetrotter, like the Generals, those are actually rigged. The Bananas say that those are real games.
You can't travel in basketball, and you can't like run out on the court with a bucket of confetti.
Well, yeah, that's not what rigged means. Rigged means the outcome is determined.
It would have to be because you'd like be cheating to win.
Well, you can modify the rules. Well, the Bananas, like you can't do this, that, the other, but they claim that like the game is not predetermined in any way.
Well, it's hard. I think it's harder to predetermine baseball than it is to predetermine basketball.
You tell that to my DraftKings account.
Is it legal to carry a bucket of confetti on the court in a basketball game, and people think it's water and they throw it? Oh my goodness, silly.
Well, if it's water, it's legal, but the confetti, it's deception, which is a 15-yard penalty on the court.
I always thought this. You want a hot take?
Not really.
Every NBA team should have a Harlem Globetrotter that can hit the three-quarter court shot like 5-6 times out of 10.
Just in case they're in that position, throw them in there.
Yeah, just throw them in, and he shoots your half-court shots for you.
Not a horrible idea.
Thank you.
I mean, if you're going to,
you like your 15th guy.
I was just going to say that, yeah. Taking up a roster spot.
Why can't old Baldy Locks or whatever his name is, any stupid name
Curly
that they
Neal.
have? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Baldy Locks is Goldilocks, but without any hair. It loves porridge.
Nice. We talked Melo a little earlier. Melo might not be the most talented basketball player on NBC's broadcast as they return to covering hoops. because Michael Jordan is going to be a contributor now for NBC's NBA coverage. Even if you don't care about the game, at this point, do you now have to tune in to at least catch their coverage if they're going to throw Melo, MJ out there? Like, does this broadcast team actually get so interesting you don't care about the game, you're at least going to check it out to see what they're doing?
I mean, I would probably check out the game anyway, but yes, I'm interested.
Well, what if it's like the Hornets and the Raptors?
Yeah,
which wouldn't be on there, but you know.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Would
yes,
you?
I would watch.
Hornets was the worst example, actually, with Michael Jordan. I could have picked any team, and that's the one they wouldn't throw him on.
I'm interested to see what Jordan has to say because he doesn't really talk much.
Me too.
Like, I don't know if he's going to be good. Like, legitimately, I think Melo will be good at it. Like, there's guys like, I don't know if Jordan's good at this.
Like Brady, he can BS enough. Sorry, Steve, didn't mean to. But with Brady, he can BS enough and just talk to where he'll at least say something.
Brady went right from football to the booth, so you're like, okay. Like, we've had years of Jordan not saying anything, and now all of a sudden he's going to do it.
Well, that's what I was going to use Brady as the example in that I don't think we truly knew how good he was going to be either because, he's a fiery guy on the sidelines, but in interviews, he would always say the PC thing and always, and is he going to be critical? Because to do that job, you got to be critical. And I think that Brady's better than I expected him to be.
Yeah, I think he's okay. That's what gave me a little confidence in Brady, though. Like, Brady's capable of saying something that sounds good. So there's a floor. His floor isn't that low. MJ, he doesn't really do that. He just kind of says stuff. So if he has nothing to say, I think his floor is lower.
I think he'll figure it out.
Yeah, he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
He can be the GOAT at this, too.
Dateline Baldwinsville. Let's go to Rob. Rob, what's up?
Hey, Rob.
Yeah. Hey, guys, what's up today? You got, Steve, you're an Earl Grey guy, buddy. That's your tea.
Yeah, it's like, what is it? Yeah.
You're Earl Grey.
Very basic, yeah.
Yes. The Bananas were in Syracuse last year, Steve.
I know. I did not go. I was not there.
Oh, no. I'm just saying, I didn't run out of my way to get there either, but they filled it up.
Yeah, sure.
It was a sellout.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a quirky kind of a thing, like you say, and you get if that's what you want, and it's for the kids, and it's a fun time to just see the freakish stuff that goes on in the games, but yeah, playing on stilts, if they're doing that, I'm not interested in that one. And doing the backflips, we got major league players doing flips, so they're just not catching the ball doing flips.
All right.
They threw it with a lacrosse stick when they were in Syracuse on the mound. They put the ball in the lacrosse stick. Yeah.
Honest question. Have you seen that game where they play with the tennis racket, baseball with the tennis rackets?
I don't know what you're talking about.
So they all have tennis rackets in the outfield, and they
Oh yeah.
And the ball's going like 1,000 miles an hour.
It's one of those things that you only see on like TikTok or Instagram reels, but have never seen a full game. But yeah, like you have to, like when you throw the ball at second base or like shortstop fields it, you have to smack it to the first baseman to get an out.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Never seen it.
Ball's going at crazy speeds. I watched wiffle ball a lot on the social medias also. It's fun.
I told you I came across that the other night on late night ESPN, the Ocho, and it was. I watched it for about 5 minutes. I was like, "This is fascinating. How does anyone make contact?"
Dateline.
Slow pitch softball makes me mad.
I used to have a video game of that.
What?
Slow pitch softball
What?
on Nintendo. It was dope. You just sit and play softball.
Was there a home run limit in the game?
No, but there's fat guys that you pick. And
oh my gosh, I think I know what game. Was it Sammy Sosa's?
No, it wasn't. It was like behind us. You were playing like behind a school in the dirt.
Do you know what game I'm talking about?
Sammy
Sosa's softball.
No.
I'm going to look this up. This is right up your alley. Kick away, my friend.
Dateline Orlando. Florida dad who paid $1,400 for family of five's day trip to Disney World says he felt punished by park. So Craig Stowell went viral on TikTok because he was complaining that he spent $1,400 in one day. And he says that Disney does not cater to the people that are there for one day only. That they want you to spend $10,000.
Of course.
And go 5 days, and then they'll take care of you. And he's mad that you have to wait in line if you can't do everything in one day. And so he's
breaking. Local restaurant puts charge on takeout orders. Like, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, so this guy's mad that they charge so much for one-day trips.
Would he be happier if he paid more to go for 5 days?
No, that's what he said. He couldn't afford the 5 days, and because he was only there for one day, like they wouldn't let him do certain perks that people who are there for more than one day get. And he said basically they never want you to leave the park. They want you there for 5 to 10 days. They want $10,000. They're not going to help you at all if you're only there for one day.
I mean, it is enormous. You can't do it in one day. I don't know. Like, if you can only go for one day, though, I think you map it out and you do the best that you can.
I feel bad, but this sounds like a him problem.
Well,
we were just griping that it was expensive.
It's very expensive.
Like, you just can't, like you said, you just got to spend the money, but you go into it knowing that. Like, that was what we said. We're like, you're going and you're just going to be broke.
Yeah, right.
And you just got to live
and you're
with
gonna,
it.
You know going in that you're going to wait in long lines, you know? And it helps having gone like my daughter's gone a few times. And so when we went the last time, she kind of mapped out like, all right, we got to do this, this, and this in this order. And like to have a strategy, it does help.
Yeah, like if I go, I want to go on the haunted house and I want to go on Pirates of the Caribbean, and the rest is all just gravy after that. And then if I go to the other park, I want the Star Wars stuff and everything else.
Right. So you make that a priority.
Yeah. That kicker proves my point, though. When we talked about it last week, I said, like, people are turning on Disney, saying it's too expensive and this and that.
No,
the people are turning on them.
The prices went up again this year, and people are complaining.
It's very expensive.
People don't like fun.
Or paying money for things.
Yeah, if the bananas were free, nobody would complain. But I did like the fact that you said that they've lost their appeal.
Yes, I noticed that. He didn't say it on purpose, but then he said it like 3 times.
Did I?
Yeah, it was absolutely genius way to describe the bananas.
Wow.
Losing their appeal.
You ready for this? No pun intended. That's how you can tell it wasn't intended.
All right, let's take our final time.
Make like a banana and split.
There you go. Make like a tree and leave from Back to the Future. Back after this on ESPN Radio.
That's funny. Steve gets in a wheelchair and has his family push him around so they can get in.
It's like a 2001 PlayStation.
That's way before. That's way better graphics than I was playing. I was playing with a Nintendo.
This game is incredible. It's just like ridiculous arcade baseball.
It was a regular Nintendo cartridge that you had to blow on to get going.
I can't believe this was a game looking back. Released in 2000.
Well, now I got to look what mine was.
Does anybody else know about Sammy Sosa's softball slam?
I spelled Nintendo softball.
Oh, should I just watch this playthrough?
Dusty Diamond's All-Star Softball. That's what it was.
709 people watched this gameplay of Shorty's Diner versus Buffy's Gym in Sammy Sosa softball slam. But the video came out 2 years ago. The game came out in 2000.
This is a graded, unopened box for $689. I had this cartridge.
This is crazy. I got some more cards over the weekend. I got one of the cards I got, it had like a Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt game-used like jersey combo.
$5.
Yeah, it's just
nothing.
nothing.
It's a double?
Yeah, but it's just nothing. It's just nothing. I already looked it up. I mean, if you're lucky, like 15. But it's just like, that's crazy. I feel like it's almost worth more.
What was it in?
One player. Topps Heritage 2025.
Oh, nice. Those are hard to get hits out of.
I got a Sasaki rookie, but it was just a normal rookie.
Yeah, keep that.
And then the one I'm wondering about is I got a pink sparkle Trey Sweeney rookie. Which I don't know if he's going to be
that,
good. But
yeah.
I mean, I keep them all.
Keep it in a top loader, though. Gosh darn it. Oh, the parental advisory explicit content warning went on albums. Should I do all dirty songs that Steve gets uncomfortable about?
That'd be fun. Ooh, do we have to make Steve pick the theme for Wednesday tomorrow? Because we have shows.
Oh, so it's tomorrow.
So you gotta surprise him. He's gonna flip out. Do we tell him tomorrow?
No, absolutely not.
Or do we tell him today? That would be so funny. Like tomorrow, like during the last break, be like,
he's gonna be.
Hey, you ready to pick the theme? And be like,
he's gonna be googling. I didn't have time for this.
Can you imagine? He's just googling like things. That's it. Just Google's like themes, objects that have English words, things with songs about them.
I don't know that we've ever done him. That guy's a Syracuse staple.
Oh, that Trent Grisham thing was crazy. Yeah, I don't know.
He
why
definitely caught the ball.
Yeah, he did. Jordan, you are the physical rep. That's not nice, Gaper.
He says things out of love. He's like me. He says mean things out of love. I get him.
I would not twerk for bits. Son of Chris Farley.
I don't know if they have more than one song, but I'll put them on there.
I'm just going to pretend all the stuff about Michael Jordan is also about me.
How great he is?
I do have zero problem being critical. Thanks, Brian.
You're the greatest of all time.
Wait. So all you have to do is break your leg and you don't have to wait on a line at Disney? I would totally do that.
Dude, I went by myself and I got in no line wait. If you go by yourself, because any family of 3, they need to put another person with them on the ride. Boom, I'm on. I was done by 1 o'clock.
I don't want to be...
I took a lot of pictures for people, but I was fine with it.
I don't want to be around. Ready for a snap life question? A cop, I was waiting for Duncan this morning, and a cop was there with her order, and she's sitting at the table next to me, and as she's trying to grab her stuff, she's like, oh, I'm going to drop this all over. Should I have actively been like, I'll help you carry it, or was it just a comment to herself? I feel like it could be an accident.
I think I already played this one. I don't know. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I played it 2 out of 3 times. Steve warned me pregame that he might need to take a timeout, so he's back. We're good. Time to vote on the artist of the day for tomorrow. Going out, one of these is a big artist, and I don't think we've ever done them. So you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. Todd Rundgren.
Don't think so.
Eddie Money. I don't think we've done him.
I feel like we've done Eddie Money.
I don't.
But I also thought we did Meatloaf.
Linda Ronstadt. La Bouche. I don't know if they have more than one song, but I sure as hell danced to that when I was in the 90s. And Roxy Music.
This is an easy one for me. I'm going Eddie Money.
I'm going La Bouche.
I'll just vote Eddie Money.
All right, Eddie Money. We'll be shaking tomorrow, if you know what I mean. We'll have 2 tickets to Paradise tomorrow.
That's good.
We'll have...
My car's going to take me home tonight.
Is he...
tomorrow.
I Love a Rainy Night?
That's Eddie Rabbit.
Oh, that's Eddie Rabbit.
Wrong Eddie. You better say a Hail Mary after that one. How about Give Me Some Water? We'll play that also.
I Like Money.
All right, we've got...
Because that's his name.
We got 90 seconds here.
But I like money. Like, not just him, but...
We've got 90 seconds. Who's winning the Celtics-Knicks series?
Celtics.
I think so, too.
Why? Why, Paulie? Why you hate her? Blah, blah, blah. Just speaking for the chat.
I hope I'm wrong. Like,
I don't even
would
care
love to
about
see
my
the Knicks
opinion
win,
now. Now I want to know. Why do you think the Celtics are...
I don't know. I just think the Celtics are the best team in the East. And
yeah.
They were up... They looked better for 90% of the games.
Yeah.
And then just lost.
I agree. I think they're going to... I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see the Knicks advance. But
I would too. It'd be fun.
I think the Celtics are going to figure it out. Get the job done.
I guess I'll give it to the Celtics because they can't shoot as bad as they did. Once the fourth quarter starts, it's just Jalen Brunson, and you almost have to be up like 10 or 15 by the time you get to the fourth because he's going to take over. They should be good. Derek White's one of the better defenders in the league. They have length to help, and you can't do anything because Brunson's that good. So I'll take the Celtics, but it might go 7.
I don't know why I'm getting soft. I'm having a panic attack right now. I can't do this to you, Steve.
What?
You bet you got to have your topic tomorrow because we don't have shows Thursday and Friday. Jordan and I were going to tell you, and we were going to sneak it on you.
On the spot. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to do that to you on the air because
Okay.
I've seen you when you're angry, and it scares me.
I appreciate that.
Steve would have rather you made that call a minute ago than tell him now.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
We're being bros right now. We're having a broman.
I appreciate the heads up. I will come up with a topic. We are out of time. We've got Cody coming up at 3.
Pink ties.
Got Brian coming up at 4. You'd be hard pressed to find 7 songs about pink ties. We'll see everybody at noon tomorrow.